Hi, I'm Venus O'Hara and welcome to another video. Today I wanted to make a video that's a little bit different from my normal videos, and I wanted to share with you my 5 biggest life regrets. Oh my god. Of course you shouldn't regret anything in life. Everything is part of learning and evolution. But if I could look back, if I could go back, I would definitely do these things differently. So the first thing that I've already shared on this channel, that my biggest regret ever has to be being a social smoker in the past. I think tobacco has got to be one of the worst things ever, and also just spending your money on it. I mean, has no benefits whatsoever, and it's bad for your health. It's bad for your bank account, and other people around you have to smell it. It smells disgusting, and that has to be one of my biggest regrets. I think when I was a drinker, I used to like that feeling of having a nicotine rush when I was a bit drunk. And that's kind of like why I liked it. And maybe also we think that when we smoke it's going to calm us down, but I think that it doesn't really calm you down. I think it actually makes your heart rate go up. But what does seem to calm you down is that kind of slower breathing as you do smoke. Because when you are stressed, you kind of like have more shallow breathing. When you're smoking, you're like... So if you just did some deep breathing instead, then maybe that would be a much better way to deal with anxiety and stress. And for me, it was so difficult to give up tobacco. It was something that I didn't imagine that, because I didn't smoke that much actually. I maybe smoked a packet a week, so it's not that much. I hate to think what it must be like for someone who's smoking a packet a day to give up. It's really, really, really intense. So for me, I just couldn't concentrate. And I did put weight on, and I just found that I started eating more, and the lack of concentration, which is something which was very shocking for me. I just could not concentrate for a very long time. And it's also something that Napoleon Hill talks about in his book, Outwitting the Devil. And this book was written in the 1930s, so it's long before... This is actually a time when people thought that tobacco was actually a healthy thing. There were doctors smoking and recommending different brands. And Napoleon Hill said that it really killed willpower and concentration. I really do believe that's true. You can see it very clearly with smokers when they travel. They kind of, get to the airport after they've been on a long flight and they go into this tiny room. I've seen in some airports they have this kind of like glass room full of the smokers, and it just stinks. It's like an ashtray. It's disgusting. Ooh. So yeah, that's one of my biggest regrets, and it did take me a while to get over. And one of the best things I did when I was giving up tobacco was I consulted this tobacco timeline, which was kind of like showing me what was happening in my body as time went by. And for example, the effects or the benefits you can start feeling them or noticing them on your... We don't really notice them that much, but in your body starts recovering from tobacco within a few hours, and then there's different processes at different times. And the hardest time, I think, is, if I remember correctly, is just within the first couple of days. That's when you're really craving it. And as time goes by, the temptation diminishes and the rejection increases. That's how it was for me anyway. And then I'd already given up alcohol at that time, so I wasn't going to be in that situation where I was a bit drunk and I wanted that nicotine high, because that is often why people go back to smoking after giving up, because they are drinking as well. And that wasn't my case. I'm very, very happy about that. But yeah, once I kicked it in the bud, that was it, over. And I was just so happy. I was just thinking, wow, that was one of the hardest things I ever did, and I'm very proud of myself for having given up. And ever since then, I'm just like, smoking, no way, keep it away from me, very far. And massively regret that. I think of all the money I spent on tobacco, and I tried to kind of justify it to myself by saying, oh, it's natural tobacco, it's I wasn't smoking that much, blah blah blah. But hey, it's much better to not smoke. And the next big regret of mine is excuse me, is that maybe I think it was 2006, I took out a payday loan. That's the silliest thing I've ever done. And I was owed some money. I just wanted to bridge this gap, and I took out only 600 euros, which doesn't sound very serious. But over time, I kept getting these letters saying, do you want more money for a holiday? Do you want more money? It's your birthday. It's this, that, and the other. It's Christmas. And sometimes when I really needed the money, I ended up kind of like extending this loan or this debt and making it bigger. And the worst thing was that when you pay it back, it's a very, very high rate. I think it might be 23% APR or something like that. It's ridiculously high. And also in your monthly payments, only a tiny part of it is actually paying back the loan. There was also an insurance part and then the interests. So it was just incredibly crazy. And then sometimes when I had some late payments as well, I would receive these nasty letters, but you can get more in debt if you want. So when I think about how much I borrowed and how much I paid in interest, it did take me several years to actually get rid of it. And I can't tell you how happy I was when I finally did. I used to call it the silly loan because it was silly. But the good thing about it is that it's really kind of it's put me in a kind of mindset of trying to avoid debt at all costs. So I do not have any debts. I don't have any credit cards. And I think it's thanks to that experience and maybe having a student loan as well, which is completely paid off, that's really made me reject this type of lifestyle of having debt and living and using debt to fund things. I know some people kind of can make it work, but for me, I just prefer to, buy something that's really mine and not have to spend the next few years paying for it. That's what I think anyway. And I just think the energy of debt is not orgasmic for me personally. And I don't like the letters that you receive, and also kind of opening your post box with this feeling of dread. I'm so glad that I don't have to deal with that anymore. So yes, it was an expensive lesson, but maybe it saved me more in the long term, but still I kind of do regret it. Okay, the next thing I regret, which is a bit silly, well maybe not a bit silly, not as silly as a silly loan maybe, but I regret when I was younger, plucking my eyebrows. I really regret that because I don't know what was wrong with my eyebrows. Obviously now the fashion is kind of like to have big bushy eyebrows, but for me I was kind of like obsessed with maybe making this arch and then plucking them to the point where there wasn't much left. And I feel that I really regret that. I think it's really difficult to get your eyebrows to go again. Now I just leave them completely natural because I just miss them, and it's been a very long time since I did any eyebrow plucking. I just use a pencil now and a brush, and that's it. But I do miss my original eyebrows, and I really regret plucking them so much. And I think a lot of people I've heard say the same thing. And maybe that's because, when I was younger, the kind of tiny, maybe drawn on eyebrows was fashionable. I didn't go that extreme. And now it's more kind of a big bushy brow that's maybe nicely shaped. But for me, I'm just like, yeah, I wish I had my big eyebrows. I wish I had my original eyebrows. Okay, the next thing I regret has to be, it sounds really woo-woo, not loving myself enough. When I look back upon my life, it's always with a sense of shame. I've always been the one to blame. That's from the Pet Shop Boys, It's a Sin. And that's how I feel about certain things in my life. For example, I've made some terrible choices when it comes to relationships and partners and the people that and the type of circumstances that I've put up with. It wasn't the person, but it may be the kind of circumstances have been a little bit toxic, and I've put up with situations that I really shouldn't have. And just because I didn't really want to be alone or something. And when I look back at certain things or certain arguments, when maybe the guy was kind of like out of turn or something, I don't blame them anymore. I blame myself for kind of putting up with it and just thinking that I deserve that. So I just do think that self-love and self-esteem can, if you have that kind of intact, then it can really prevent you from having other problems. That's what I really believe. I think it's really, really important to focus on self-worth, self-belief, self-love, self-esteem, because you will have less weeds in your garden, I believe. Of course, it's always good to have a little bit of conflict, but, you have to kind of get over it and things have to improve. That's what I think anyway. And I can think of certain relationships that I really did put up with too much crap. And that's because of my low self-esteem at the time. Okay, and hang on, can I read this? The last thing I regret, well, hopefully this will be the last thing. Obviously, this has been a massive lesson as well, is that I have not had enough of work-life balance in my life. I've been a freelancer now since 2007, so I do love the freelance life. But in my life, even before I was a freelancer, I was working in sales as well. So I think sales is kind of like a bridge between freelancing and being an employee, because it is based on your performance, and you can't just turn up to a company and have the basic salary and not sell, because you won't last very long. So for me, I was always very obsessed with work, to the point where I was staying behind, working more hours, having clients phone me on my personal phone, just really kind of obsessed with just kind of like having my identity defined by my work. And I think that these days I've really tried to make a massive effort to create some balance in my life, especially after the pandemic. I feel like I'm kind of traumatized by the lack of social contact that we've had. I really missed my friends. I've missed meeting people. I've missed going out. So now I'm like making a massive effort to socialize as much as possible, because I think we need other people, and I think we need other people to lift us up and inspire us. It's also good to have time on your own, but I felt very cut off from people. And also, before the pandemic, I was kind of living a pandemic lifestyle anyway, spending lots of days alone, working alone. And when I started my blog in 2009, and I left my job in real estate, I did spend maybe sometimes 7 days a week working, and I would only see a friend once or twice a week, and the rest of the time I was alone. And that was really lonely for me, but I was kind of really work obsessed, and that's something I really regret, because I think I'm kind of paying the price sometimes in my personal life, not having invested enough in my friendships of the past. But at the same time, some of those friendships were destined to end anyway. So I think I'm doing the right thing now to kind of really focus on not working at all at the weekend, just having Saturday and Sunday off to actually socialize, spend time with myself, with my vegan group, with my book group, and walk around and enjoy Barcelona. Yes, that's what I'm up to at the moment. And also I can feel that a lot of people are feeling the same way, in that they were, missing human contact through the pandemic, and now everyone's kind of dying to reconnect. And I'm trying to do as much as I can to facilitate that, because I have a vegan group. I'm one of the organisers, and I organise events every single weekend. And before the pandemic, we used to have maybe 10, 12 people coming for a dinner or a lunch. And now we're going for places that will let big groups of 20, 30 people in. So because we're all kind of really dying for human contact. Yeah, so they are my regrets. And of course, I am working on all of them. I have evolved from all of them as well. And what about you? What are your life regrets? I would love to hear from you in the comments below, if you have any at all, or things that you would have done differently. And I'll be back very soon with some more videos. Thanks for watching.